horse-drawn boats, tea rooms, steam trains, a lovely bridge, fudge shop. No, you haven't walked into a caricature of a Welsh town. This is Llangollen. Beautiful village in the Dee Valley. So I had a bit of a nightmare this morning. It was forecast to be this nice sunny weather all morning, but it's basically rained and been a headwind since I left the house a couple of hours ago. But I'm here today to do the worst climb in North Wales. That is definitely going to be my clickbait title. My least favourite climb in Wales. It's called the Horseshoe Pass. I won't say too much more about it because I want to give voiceover Nick something to say. Otherwise it's going to be like 20 minutes of me going, yeah, this is a road, yeah, this is a road, and I know how boring I can get. But Llangollen, it's worth stopping in. There's like 5 or 6 brilliant climbs that come out of here. The Grim is not far from here, the Old Shoe, the Panorama, World's End, obviously the New Shoe, which is the one I'm about to do, which I don't think is that great. And then there's a couple of climbs over this way that go over to a place called Glyncuriog. I don't even know the names of those climbs, but they are brutal. They're like, you know, averaging in the high teens percentage for a kilometre or two. And I'll do them one day. Actually, one day I want to do a video where I get here for like 6 or 7 a.m. and I spend a whole day just doing every climb out of Llangollen, come back to base on this bridge, because it's a great bridge. I'll stop waffling. If you've never visited Llangollen, do. It's lovely. It's genuinely lovely. Touristy as fuck, but it's lovely. I'm going to go and get on with the climb now. It starts not far from here, so wish me luck. So just approaching the bottom of the Horseshoe Pass from Llangollen now. This left turn goes to the Grim. I think I probably say that, but I'm going to talk over myself saying that. It's a nice left turn. It goes down the coach road to Corwin. But here is the Horseshoe Pass proper. Today I found myself wishing I was going left because it's more my cup of tea. If I'm honest, this is very much a main road climb. It's never particularly steep and it's relatively consistent. So it's the sort of climb that when I'm being a contrarian, I say really is just doing a time trial, but uphill. It's not a climber's climb, but that's just an excuse. That's absolute nonsense. That's just me going, I'm rubbish at this and I'm going to find a reason to slag it off. This bottom bit of road is properly poor quality, which is quite annoying for me, given what a busy road this is. I thought I would give you guys more information on the road rather than just leaving it all to voiceover Nick. I thought you might find that more interesting, but as you can hear, I'm pretty breathless and it's a busy road, so it was a fool's endeavour. I do apologise. What I'm saying is on the right there's a caravan site and campsite that's in the ruins of a monastery that got sacked in the dissolution of the monasteries, so thank you, Henry. But I think that's really cool. You can set up your tent in pretty ancient ruins, like 17th century monastery ruins.
It's going to be no PRs today. It's fucking wind.
I've had a good old whinge about the wind there because it's really tired me out, but that's just, you know, cycling uphill Nick getting grumpy about anything and everything. On the left up here, this pub has a brewery attached to it, so you can, this next sign says, buy beer from the brewery itself. There you go, buy beer from the brewery door. Fascinating. My best mate Matt was a brewer for many years. He's not doing that anymore, but he went to buy beer from there once and it was closed, so you know. Never mind. I'm still on sort of the shallow slopes of this climb. The segment's very much started. The road surface has got a bit better, so one less thing to complain about. But as you can see, it's been like 1%, 2%, nothing major.
I don't get how this is possible. I've had a headwind all the way to Llangollen. Pretty much gone 180. Still got a headwind.
So actually, I think it's sort of justified, because when I looked at the map and I looked at the wind direction, I had a crosshead all the way down, and because of the shape of this valley, it does funnel the wind along. So having a headwind on these initial slopes kind of made sense. And when you go around the horseshoe, you'll see when I get there, there's always a headwind one way and a tailwind the other way, and it kind of balances out. It's always the way it is, and it varies which side you get the head and the tail, but it's always there. God, this road surface is awful. I don't remember it being this awful. I remember this being the slightly nicer route, but anyway, thankfully it's quite early, and I think because it had rained all morning up to this point, it's sort of put off the hobby drivers and motorcyclists. This road is incredibly popular with motorcyclists. On a hot summer's day, it will be absolutely filled with them. Less so now that they've lowered it to a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, but still. In my first ever YouTube video, I saw a car, like a rally car, crash off the side here because people also come and drive there.
That's why it's my least favourite climb.
God, I was in a proper grump this morning, wasn't I? Listen to all that. The pub I've just passed on the left is called the Britannia Inn. It's just like a normal British gastro pub / hotel, but for the hardcore British hill climb cyclists, that's where the segment starts. Those guys don't care about Strava, they care about where you would host a hill climb, and it starts in that car park. That's really practical, and it finishes at a lay-by just before the top of the full climb. So if you go back to Ed Laverak's, like, I don't know, 2016 Horseshoe Pass hill climb video, you'll see actually that the time I get today on the full segment is faster than the time he got, and that's because he basically didn't ride the full segment. It's the only possible chance I've got of being faster than him up a hill. So yeah, I'm starting to get onto the steeper parts of the climb, and you see an 8-9%. I'd decided that my strategy for this whole climb was going to be sit down at just sub-threshold, so that when I start getting to 7 to 10%, I can go way over threshold, up and over these. As they say, ride the climb. There's no point fully flat pacing this, even though I've said it's just a time trial that happens to go uphill. That's not really true. And having a bit more, a few more watts to burn on the steeper sections is probably lucrative, though here I'm going too deep. It's too early for this, and I was just holding sort of 390, 400 watts. You're getting into 6 watt per kilo range for me, and that's stupid. There's no way I can, still bang out another 10 minutes of threshold after holding 6 watts per kilo. This bit of road's been nicely resurfaced, and I think actually that's not to be understated how useful that was for me versus my previous times, that this bit of road is smoother. It does roll faster, you can feel it rolling faster, so that's quite nice. And I quite like this bit just as a bit of road to ride. I like on this when you go through the foresty bits, they feel slightly different in atmosphere. I always think that this bit's shorter than it is. It goes on for quite a long time, and it's relatively steep, so I do often invest a little too much power at this point. Giving myself a carrot to chase there. So the crash barrier on the right here, in my first ever video where I showed you guys the old shoe for nationals, at the very end I'm riding the road that's down the hill on the right, and a car just went through that crash barrier and rolled down the hill. It was not ideal. Everyone was okay, it was fine. Phoned an ambulance anyway, but everyone was fine. But it's just the sort of thing that happens on this road, is why I really don't like cycling it at all. And so far, I suspect you might be in agreement with me. You might be thinking, yeah, it is quite boring. Here we go, we're back to 4%, just ticking along. I have been seated almost this entire time and just spinning my legs at a steady cadence. I think I was holding sort of 80 to 85, which for me uphill is rare actually. I'd normally go lower even when I stay seated, but I decided to try the seated spinning effort. And now we start to open up. Elevation won't be high here, but we're getting above the tree line to some extent. I know that, okay, there's trees above me, that was a stupid thing to say, but we're getting above the actual forested bit, and it moves into a more like moorland terrain. And actually this whole area is kind of slate mining, like a lot of North Wales. So mentally for me, I like to break this climb up, and this crash barrier and this like relatively sweeping left turn is a really useful way to do that. It's hard to tell on the camera, but straight ahead of me here, you're able to see the road as it comes round the horseshoe and on the other side, and depending on how your day is going, it's either really motivating or really demotivating to be able to see how much elevation you've got to climb and how much distance you've got to go on the road. But generally speaking, I quite like to have that sort of encouragement. I really like to have an end point that you can see, even if it is miles away. It's just something to keep riding to, constant frame of reference for how you're getting on. I do quite like that. This part I find hard mentally, because you can see it almost looks flat, and when you're cycling it almost looks flat, and I think it's just because it's so expansive. It's quite hard to get a reference of what the real gradient you're riding is, and really it's between 4 and 6%, I think, which, you know, by anyone's measure is a proper climb. It's not a false flat. This is a hill, but you sometimes get that feeling of, why is it so hard and I'm going so slowly? And I have to fight that a lot. I struggle mentally to keep pushing in that case. So something I've been thinking a lot recently is loads of people talk about how it's easier to push watts into a headwind than with a tailwind, and for me that couldn't be further from the truth. When I have the sensation of speed, my brain is very happy to put watts out, but when I don't, when you get slogging into a headwind, and if you coast for a second you lose all your speed, my brain just goes, well, what's the point then? And I really find it tough to keep pushing on through that. So in the distance ahead of me there's like a white house on the road, and that is halfway up the steep section that's like in the crescent of the shoe, I guess, like halfway around the full bend there. And again, that's another useful reference point for me. Because otherwise there's not really that much to go on. So I've clickbaited this video, like, pretty badly, saying it's my least favourite climb, and oh, it's so busy, and there were really not many cars today. It was actually fine. If you come at this in the height of summer, it's almost unrideable. But maybe, actually, they've lowered the speed limit to 40 miles an hour. Maybe that's had a big impact, because it used to be that, you know, you'd genuinely be afraid for your life with motorbikes. Okay, it was national speed limit, but for some motorcyclists that means they're doing 120 miles an hour down here, and because they're motorcyclists, they don't necessarily need to move out to the other lane. And to be fair to them, they might well be giving you 1.5 meters and staying in lane, but when they're doing over 100 and you're doing like 10 miles an hour or 16k, that feels quite a big speed differential, and it was very scary. It was better today. Something to tell you how popular this climb is, that on some days, even when there's not a sportif or anything, there is a professional photographer who sets up on this corner, and he just stands there with a sign, that links to his website, and he takes photos of road cyclists, motorcyclists, drivers, whatever, taking this sort of iconic corner with the scenery behind, and you can buy the photos from him if you want. It's clearly lucrative enough business, so it must be, you know, particularly popular with people who would be interested in those sort of photos. You may have seen a sign on the road that said 20% section coming up, and it's referring to this section, and it is an absolute lie. This climb never gets near 20%. I don't care what the road sign says. I think the maximum grade I've seen on my Garmin on this climb is 13%. It says 20% for half a mile. It's just not true. I think you can probably hear from my breathing there, it's starting to get pretty ragged. I genuinely am struggling. I'm giving it everything I've got, and I've just looked at my Garmin and seen that I'm well down on my time versus myself, which normally I find really, once I've seen that I'm down, I'm such a quitter, as many of you will know. Absolutely pathetic quitter. But today I knew that as I turned this corner I would get a real boost from the wind. I would have a strong tailwind because it'd been in my face to this point, so I have to have a tailwind. It's just how it works when you've got a 180-degree turn in a road. So I decided to keep giving it the beans, and this last part is shallower again, and quite often in the past I've had this problem of I've got no real way to keep myself pushing on when it flattens off. I like to have something to push against. So I decided today to win a mental battle there, and even though it flattens off and even though I've got the wind behind me, you know, give it everything I've got to make the most of that, as opposed to coasting and going, well, I'm being helped along. Give it a good old push. And as you can see, we're still going up like 3-4%, and I'm getting up to 30 kph, which is not bad at all. It's very, very much wind assisted, and it does get shallower. Like, I'm under no illusions. It's not just, oh, Nick's flying up here. But, you know, you can only ride in the conditions you're given, and I'm very happy with how I used these. And then I decided to stop looking at how I was doing compared to myself on my Garmin and just go as fast as I can. Because if I saw that I wasn't going to make the time, I would give up before the top. I thought I'd rather not know. I'd rather just empty the tank, give it everything I've got to the top, and, you know, see if I can do anything with it. I don't have any fancy enough camera equipment to show you anything that's not in a direct line either in front or behind me, which is a shame, because the view over to the right, back over where you just climbed, is great, and I will show you that at the end. I know I say that every video, like, oh, I'd love to show you the view over there, but I can't. But yeah, maybe I'll invest in something like that if I have more than like 10 viewers. But I love and appreciate my 10 viewers, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I just make these videos because I enjoy it, but if the quality ever becomes a problem, I'll probably need more people to be interested in it before I invest any more money. So coming round the top here, I don't quite know what happened, why I let off the power there. I think maybe it was just a lapse of focus, or I don't know. I don't think I was really starting to struggle. And actually you can see that my metrics are well off compared to my location. There's no way I'm doing 0 watts here. I'm still pushing on pretty quickly. So something's gone wrong there with the metrics, I'm afraid. They're just a little bit delayed. But I give this a big push to the end. Like, I think I was doing a good 400 watts here. And there's a nice little sign that says Horseshoe Pass Summit, however many feet we're at. Very nice. And before heading down to the cafe, I thought I should just turn around and try and give you guys a better shot of the view that I'd been sort of taking in as I was cycling the whole time. Dare I say it, sometimes I can get complacent about these sort of things and be like, well, I'm riding up this hill for training. But I'm trying to remind myself that, well, I'm not training for anything. I'm riding up this hill because absolutely love riding up hills in Wales, and part of the reason I love it so much is because of the views like this that you get at the top. So actually, I always think I try and faff as little as possible on rides, be as efficient as possible, but when you got views like this, stop for 1 minute, take a photo, take it in, and enjoy it. And I really did enjoy this today, even though I was a pissy little boy at the bottom.
Well, hello YouTube fans. Down there is Llangollen, where I started. That's the road I've just come up, snakes round the mountain, into this horseshoe shape, and then back up. So you can see where it got its name, Bolch Ordnant in Welsh, I believe. I've probably butchered that. Or the Horseshoe Pass in English. I just set a PR up it, which I'm quite happy with, given that it's so windy. I felt like I could have done better, if I'm honest, but a decent effort, one to be proud of. I'll get a load of excuses in. What are the excuses? Bit breezy, had a bit of fatigue, forgot to take my gilet off. Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, here's me saying it's my least favourite climb. It's not bad, is it? Yeah, it's still one to love. I didn't mention this earlier, but there's a couple of things going on for me at the moment. I've not said this publicly on YouTube, but for those of you who remember a few months ago, I had my heart all strapped up. It came back saying that I've got an arrhythmia, like regular episodes of what's called, I think, Wenker Bash arrhythmia. Just means that my bottom two chambers, what are they, ventricles, sometimes don't beat. Doesn't sound great, but the doctor said it's okay as long as there's nothing else. But I wonder if it's limiting me on the more like FTP stuff. Basically my heart's just not beating as efficiently as it could, and I've really struggled with sort of 20 to 50 minute efforts this year, or 10 to 50 minute efforts this year. VO2's fine, longer than that's fine. The other thing that's going on in my life at the moment is Rhiannon has COVID, and 2 years of being a teacher on the front line, had very little protection from it, and she's not got it until now. I'm really impressed. Obviously proud of what she's done throughout all of this. I've had so much more protection from it than she has, and I feel a bit bad for just going out and abandoning her, but she said she's going to be sat on the sofa feeling sorry for herself all day anyway. There's no point me doing the same. So here you go, here I am. I'm going to go to the Greasy Spoon Cafe on the top. Please don't lynch me, people who like the Ponderosa, but my god, it's terrible. Really low quality cafe meets school dinners there, but it is on the top of this hill, adequately placed, so that's great.